Everyone says Russian President Vladimir Putin raised a bear as a pet. People say Putin is a time traveler and his face has been seen in numerous historical images. We want to show you the truth or falsity of these claims and see if Putin is really a human being or an emissary from other planets. Please join us for a look at the life of a president. It's not just an ordinary president, but Vladimir Putin. President who does not intend to retire and continues to work. Today we are going to go to Mr. Putin's palace to see how 24 hours of the Russian president's life went. Vladimir Putin is one of the richest people in the world. We also saw the sports he was involved in. A few photoshops Putin has become so famous, one of which is this photo. Many people also believe Putin's bear riding. You might think that when Putin wakes up in the morning, a bear brings him breakfast. But this rich, famous, powerful guy doesn't have a very good life. He usually wakes up at 12 noon. He ate breakfast of cheese and barley and omelette every day, but his breakfast must have been prepared in his own kitchen or else he would refuse the meal. Even if the food raw material comes from somewhere else, it returns the food. Vegetables and fruits are removed from the ground next to the planting, and other food comes from special places that are known and monitored. Putin's eating is so weird. He doesn't like any food. There have been times when his chef cooked the best food, but Putin didn't eat because he didn't like the look of the food. He has many problems eating, and these problems multiply when he leaves Russia. He has a reliable chef who accompanies Putin all over the world, and even if he wants to eat a simple boiled egg, it must be his own chef's handiwork. When he attends a banquet for the heads of other countries, he sends his cook to the kitchen there and eats the food that he cooks separately. Putin doesn't milk as overkill. We don't know if Putin is lactose intolerant or doesn't like milk at all. But chances are he's afraid the milk is poisonous, because they can easily mix the poison into the milk. Make no mistake, Putin is not a cowardly man. He has only learned to learn from history. Don't you see what I mean? Let me explain to you. In Russia, poisoning and poisoning politicians is rampant. For example, a few years ago, Alexei Navalny, a staunch opponent of Putin, was poisoned. Mr. Navalny survived, of course, but it never turned out the same as before his poisoning. It is interesting to know that Mr. Navalny died after some time in prison. Back to the Kremlin. All the employees of the farm next to the Putin's palace where Putin eats his crops are members of the Orthodox Church, a place Putin has complete confidence in. He drinks a coffee after breakfast and gets ready for work. It's 13 o'clock, but for Putin it's not yet started because he has to swim after breakfast. He swims in the pool for about 2 hours because he believes swimming is very important for his health. Do you think he thinks about Russian empires during these 2 hours of swimming? Or does he not think about anything? At this time, it can be said that the staff of the presidential palace are Mr. Putin's vassals. They wait for Mr. Putin to get out of the way. Those who work with Putin know that greeting doesn't mean anything to him. He never asks his employees and never responds to other people's requests. He only orders what to do and what not to do. Many people say Putin doesn't like the presidency, but believes that if he gives up the responsibility, Russia will collapse. Putin is extremely upset about the Soviet disintegration because he hates the people who caused it to happen, like Mikhail Gorbachev. Let's go back to Mr. Putin in the pool and see if his swim is over. Yes, fortunately, Mr. Putin's swim is over, but he's still not going to work. He initially goes to the gym, but during practice he also watches TV news to keep up with the national news somewhat. When weightlifting is over, Putin prepares to wear formal attire. Putin jackets are usually from the Ketone or Biryani brands. These two are Putin's favorite brands that are too expensive. Mr. Putin will finally enter the presidential palace around 4 p.m. and take a seat at his desk. When he sits down at his desk, he starts working and working. All the employees wait for hours, but when he comes, everyone is heartened because he wants so much work from his staff and doesn't give them a second to do anything else. He gives each person specific orders. The counselors standing around him are extremely stressed. First, the letters are signed. Senior advisors spell out the issues and Putin orders and signs. After this point, Putin reads all the important news from the world. He knows that many countries in the world don't like him. Putin is also interested in studying German newspapers because he also knows German well. Putin remains busy at work. While working, he's a dry, soulless human being. The most dry and soulless person you can imagine. Sometimes he makes small jokes with the staff. When he's done signing orders and reading the news, now Putin has to go according to the planning list. For example, 6 months ago it was planned that today at 6 p.m. we should call Joe Biden. Unlike other presidents, Putin doesn't like meeting and gathering stuff around himself. That's why he prefers to be called and not to go to his room in person. So it can be said that during the Corona period, Putin had a lot of fun because during that period the situation was arranged that everything was done offline and online. The way it used to be implemented by Putin before Corona too. Putin only comes out of the palace when he either wants to go to the airport or the Kremlin and has nothing to do with anywhere else. Of course, he even forcibly goes to the Kremlin because he has to, and meetings are held in the Kremlin where his attendance is mandatory. It's interesting to know that in these meetings, everyone tries not to be blindsided by Putin. He doesn't say hello or say goodbye to anyone. Putin doesn't smile at any of his meetings. He doesn't talk about himself at these meetings. All of these speeches were written by his advisors. After dark, the meeting ends and Putin leaves the Kremlin and heads home. It's not over for Putin, of course. The work is still done at home. It can be said that he's an owl and loves working at night. Poor employees who came to work early in the morning don't have the guts to say it's late and I want to go home. You might think that Putin would start drinking after he got home, but no. He hates alcohol, and the reason for hating Putin is the addiction of the majority of the Russian people to alcoholic beverages. Putin's tea consumption is high, and everywhere he has a samovar that is boiling. You might think that Putin spends time with his children too, but it's not. And he has nothing to do with his children at all, and maybe they see each other twice a year. But Putin has 3 dogs that he plays with every day. Planning and running with these dogs, Connie, Yume, Buffy are Putin's 3 favorite dogs. Journalists are always waiting to take pictures of Putin. They're on every corner. But when dogs sense the presence of reporters, they start barking, and Putin loves it. Every time they bark and find a reporter, they get a biscuit from Putin. After playing with the dogs, Putin starts doing the rest again. Okay, so here the video is somewhat familiar with Putin's lifestyle, but the strange habit that Putin has happens every night at 3 in the middle of the night. First, like the video and download the Dark Fact channel to dive into Putin's mysterious midnight habit. His work usually ends after midnight, but it's not yet Putin's bedtime. He goes to his room and no one knows what he's doing there, but those close to him say he reads until 3 a.m. Putin doesn't like to portray himself as a book reader at all, but likes to show himself a powerful athlete. He sleeps around 3 a.m. so he can wake up tomorrow at 12 noon and start another day again. Another interesting thing Putin does someday is go to church but doesn't declare he's a Christian. He also takes private English classes because he knows German and Russian and likes to learn English. Putin is also very fond of playing hockey, and sometimes he also plays hockey. By the way, at the end of the video, it is interesting to know that Putin doesn't have a wife because he separated from his wife in 2013 after 3 years of living together. Because they were never good with each other and they always made each other nervous. Thank you for being with us until the end of this video. We are proud to have a great viewers like you. Also, don't miss the other videos on the Dark Fact channel.